Police are investigating a case of attempted murder after an 18-year-old student was lured using a dating app GRINDR and kidnapped for ransom. The 18-year-old Wits student was found severely beaten at the Denver hostel in the East of Johannesburg this week. 7 men have since been arrested with the crime, and police say that they may be linked to 86 similar other cases. Police say they haven't ruled out the possibility that the crime was a hate crime. And now, to discuss this, we are joined by spokesperson for Access Chapter 2 and LGBTQIA plus activist Mpho Buntse. Mpho, a very good afternoon or evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, the young man was saved, fortunately, but given the circumstances, it could have been very, very different.
Good evening to you and your viewers. Indeed, and I think it's part of what we've had an issue with when the syndicate initially came to the fore, to say many of these cases could actually end fatal in cases where one does not, come forth with the ransom. So even with this case, I think what we saw emerging there was just a matter of, the family responding quicker. But, in essence, we're seeing this could end fatally in cases where one does not have money to pay.
Look, Mpho, has there been more concern about GRINDR or the safety thereof for some time now, if police are now saying that there has been nearly 90 similar other cases?
Yeah, as Access Chapter 2, we got to work on this case about 2 years ago, when it initially emerged, and through our advocacy efforts and working with the South African Police Services as well as GRINDR itself, we saw some movement and action from the South African Police Services, and as a result of that, 4 suspects were arrested. But what remains problematic is the fact that the police are not forthcoming with what's the progress with regards to the 4 suspects that were arrested last year. But over and above that, we are saying we really congratulate them for actually swiftly acting on arresting the 5 suspects now. But it still places us, on a questionable side to say, is this a syndicate? How big is it? And, how deep does it go? Because if those 4 were arrested last year and we're seeing this 5 emerging now, it means that it's a bigger problem. It could be a syndicate. That's what we want to know. We don't just want to celebrate and 3 months down the line, another group emerges.
And Mpho, look, the targets are often gay men. Do you believe that they are being targeted simply because of the loose security around the site, or because they are gay? Then it does not move towards being a hate crime. But police, as I started my insert, are saying that they cannot rule out the fact that it could actually be associated with hate crime.
It is definitely a hate crime. For a lack of a better explanation to it, if one uses a platform where a person is meant to feel safe, remember GRINDR is a space where queer people, in particular gay men, need to feel safe. It's a social space. But if someone comes in and uses this very same space to actually use it to extort, use it for any other reason except what it was meant for, it is hate. And we're seeing this as a result of many evidence that we've received. In many of these cases, we hear the suspects or the perpetrators, uttering statements that are homophobic, that we will cut your private parts because you don't know how to use them. So for us, we've already concluded that this has hate painted all over it.
And Mpho, then where does this leave the users of GRINDR as well as other dating and hookup applications? I mean, the security surveillance company Vision Tactical has called for it to be banned.
What we will say, and I think this has always been our position as Access Chapter 2, to say as much as we do realize that the platform, carries so much threat, we still need to speak about erotic justice as an important aspect of our advocacy. The LGBTQ community in many spaces cannot express themselves in terms of loving the next person. So we opt for these platforms because that's where we feel like they are safe spaces. What we have actually opted for was to actually engage GRINDR, to engage South African Police Services to see how do we strengthen the security features of the app. And part of that was actually listened to by GRINDR. They've increased their security features, particularly for Johannesburg and Cape Town, where some of these cases emerges, where immediately when you open the app, if you are in Joburg, GRINDR will automatically inform you that you are now entering a space that has too many threats. Either you opt to go in or you opt to go out.
All
but
right.
we should not take away the erotic justice of the LGBT community because that's where they feel safe. If we are going to ban GRINDR, then we might as well ban other hookup sites.
All right, Mpho, we're going to leave it there.